back at the VA hospital now, all day today and yesterday evening. And I guess Steve and I are used to this kind of thing. He's up now with my dad, and I came out to make some dinner for myself. Steve would have gladly done that, but he probably really doesn't know how I like my salad. So I've come out to take a little bit of break, visit the kitty cat, have a little to eat, and I just want to say, I think I mentioned this before, but the VA hospital is absolutely incredible. Now, especially that the nurses have gotten to know us, we've been around, spending hour after hour there. They have brought us a comfort station. They brought us a little cart that had coffee and hot water and drinks and snacks. They've asked us if we need anything. Even when the nurses tonight found out that we were actually staying in our camper van, and she told us that there's a shower that we can be using. It's pretty incredible and very helpful because this is a really difficult time. It's been a crazy few weeks. And again, I don't know, we're just really thankful for helpful people and the fact that this experience with the VA is so wonderful. So I'm going to make myself a little here. I'm going to take my shower stuff in, and instead of having to drive to Planet Fitness, we can go in the hospital and get a shower. So that's pretty great. And of course, we don't know what the next several days hold. Our last meeting, we actually made the decision as a family with staff to transition my dad officially into comfort hospice care. So we don't know what that means, I guess, as far as how much time, but we're just focusing on making sure that he's comfortable, and we're just going to take it day by day. So, and now it's starting to rain. It's been a rainy, cold day. Hopefully our power is going to stay charged enough. Hi, baby. Is it raining? Huh? What are you doing? Good girl. Alright, good girl. Alright, well, I got my dinner made. I'm trying to be healthy, because I feel like that's super important right now when it's really easy probably to run ourselves ragged. Trying to make Christina proud, I used some of the red cabbage and arugula that I split with Lisa that we got at the farmer's market yesterday. Got a whole mix of vegetables, got a lot of colors going on, Christina. So I'm going to take this up to my dad's room and eat up there. I just feel like that's easier, and I don't need to feel like that he might have something happen and then he needs help. So I'm just a little bit happier eating up there in his room. And I did forget to mention, it's kind of nice just to enjoy the nice little moments we get, things to celebrate. When we were heading his way yesterday back to the hospital, he called and he wanted pizza. And my dad's not able to eat very much right now, but I think the thought of food is a big comfort to him, and the smell and just the taste. So we picked him up a pizza, and we had it last night. He only had a bite, but he enjoyed that bite. So I'm just thankful for all those kind of moments. And now it's raining. Hopefully I'm not going to get too wet going back inside, but I'm going to head back inside.
Little did we know that would be our last night with Audra's dad.
The next afternoon, 16 days after we initially took him to the hospital, my dad's battle with cancer ended as he passed from this life to the next with us by his side. I was holding his hand as he passed, something for which I am deeply grateful.
It happened faster than any of us expected, the doctors included. But the blessing was, it was the end to his pain.
Two of my dad's favorite nurses were there to help us with the transition of everything. And as they do with all veterans who pass the VA hospital, they wheeled his body out, covered with the American flag, after we were able to have some time together as a family. The staff at the VA hospital were so wonderful in providing support during those last days of my dad's life.
Our van life friends, Jamie and Lisa, and Bill and Christina, were also able to be at the hospital immediately after his passing, which was wonderful to receive their love and support.
So what do we say now, and what do we share? In 2020, when we initially bought our van and started building it out and traveling, we made this decision to put our lives out there and share some of our life on a public platform. But that can become a little complicated when you experience a deeply personal life event.
So we thought long and hard about what's appropriate to share while respecting our family's privacy and, of course, what's just comfortable for us.
During the time my dad was at the hospital, we did film off and on, but we made a conscious decision not to film our time with him in the hospital. What we concluded is that as we process all of this, we can share what we're learning and hopefully be an encouragement to someone else who's going through this kind of loss or facing some hard things.
To help share this story in its full context, we thought it would be best to go back to 2020 when this journey started.
It was back on our very first big trip with the van that we received the news that my dad had been diagnosed with cancer. We had been spending time exploring the Blue Ridge Parkway and had stopped at an overlook to watch a beautiful sunset. As we drove back down the mountain, I got a phone call from my dad. We received the shocking news that he, who was always priding himself in his health, had been diagnosed with terminal prostate cancer, and doctors were giving him a year to live.
That was the same year, as many of you will remember, that COVID wreaked havoc with the world. But it was thanks to this tiny home on wheels that we were able to make the trip up to New York to spend time with him and family.
We were so thankful that we could be there with family and to help with some projects. And we were also able to return later at Christmas time, and we were very thankful for that opportunity. We've arrived in New York to the snow and cold. This is where we'll be staying for the next several days for the holidays. You're supposed to leave this on your face for 10 to 20 minutes?
Obviously.
Oh my goodness.
Is it that funny?
We look like a horror movie. Ta-da!
With the benefit of hindsight, it's really neat to look back and see how everything came together. This van was a real blessing in letting us be able to spend time, extended time, with Audra's dad.
Over the next several years, my dad continued to surprise us and the medical team, and we were able to celebrate several more birthdays and holidays with him way beyond that first year that they gave him. So, another day. Today we're actually celebrating my dad's birthday. And that's actually kind of special because we weren't sure if he'd be here for his birthday this year with the battling cancer. So that'll be kind of a neat celebration. He gets more than one. Happy birthday, you can't sing. To you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dad. Happy birthday to you.
You're the greatest singers that I've ever heard.
Attempts to find a restaurant that was open on a Monday night. We finally found this place, and it wasn't too bad. Several places were closed or too full. How was dinner?
Scrumptious.
Scrumptious. All right, so you gotta rate this restaurant how we would with vans.
3 vans.
3 vans. The official verdict is 3 vans.
We agreed.
We thought it was pretty good.
It's okay.
Good onion rings, right?
Yeah, the onion rings were good.
We tried to take advantage of and treasure the extra time we had with my dad beyond his prognosis. And it was always bittersweet when it was time to drive away, never knowing if it would be the last. We made several trips between Florida and New York, and he even came to visit us a couple times in Florida.
To be honest, there were many times where we would part ways and we would think this might be the last time we see him because he was in bad shape. But then he would bounce back and surprise us all.
But in the spring of this year, we all realized that my dad's remaining days were numbered. The focus of his care started to change from trying to extend his life to just provide comfort. He and my stepmom started meeting with the palliative team at the VA, and they started talking about what it would look like in the coming weeks and months. Meanwhile, we were planning our itinerary for the year, not really knowing what the timeline would be. And we planned to go northeast to spend time with family and say our goodbyes to my dad and then do a big loop out west. But when we got to New York, with all that was going on, we realized we needed to change our plans and just to stay in the northeast indefinitely. So if you've been following along, you know that we spent a lot of our summer in the Ithaca area, and we would leave and do some trips and then return back. We were able to celebrate my dad's 79th birthday, which we thought we would never get to do. And then we returned once again exactly a month later. We were planning on spending time with my dad and some other family the next day, and we got a call from my stepmom that my dad had extreme pain in his leg and she needed help getting him to the hospital because he couldn't stand and it was really hard to move him. So we took him to the hospital and we found out that on top of the cancer, he had cellulitis in his leg from an injury that hadn't healed properly, and he had sepsis and COVID.
Because he had COVID, he was put in isolation and we weren't able to visit him or help in any way. And of course that was very frustrating because the only thing we could do was return back to Ithaca and wait.
It was very maddening, and after several days, when we thought we could visit him, we were notified that they were extending his isolation, so we had to wait even further. Well, we knew he was very weak and in a lot of pain. We had just 1 week with my dad at the hospital, and it was intense and exhausting. After just 1 week of caregiving, we felt pretty depleted emotionally and physically.
We were really thankful to have this van during this time. It provided a safe haven for us that we were able to go back to, make our meals, get some rest, and recharge for the next round.
Losing a loved one is hard, especially when that relationship is complicated. I thought it'd be a lot easier after 4 years to prepare, but I don't think anything prepares you. In the whole process of things I learned, you just never know what to expect. It's very, very, very surreal being with someone as they pass from this life to the next. There's a lot to process and a lot to adjust to once they're gone. Well, initially I didn't think I wanted to share anything at my dad's memorial service. Something changed in me during those days in the hospital. It brought some closure, some clarity, and some revelation that I felt was important to share with other people, especially if it could encourage someone else that was going through a painful situation. The following is just a little bit of what I shared at his service. My father was adventurous, often silly and fun, and could be very tender and kind. He drove through a roadblock with my brother during a blizzard to make it to the hospital in time for my birth. When I was a child, he sang to me and prayed me to sleep at night. He comforted me when I was sick or scared. He protected me. When in a car accident in a work truck that had no seatbelt, his natural instinct was to put his arm out to protect me when we had the accident. He wrote notes and prayed for my brother and I when we went to school. He helped me with multiple school projects. He made time for his family that gave us lasting memories. In high school, he supported me in my extracurricular activities, attending endless swim meets, art shows, and recitals. As a proud papa, he drove me to school with a car loaded to the brim and then would cart me back at the end of the year. He drove through a ferocious snowstorm, there might be a theme there, to get me back to college after a winter break. He wrote letters while I was away. He welcomed my college friends and then my fiance. He proudly walked me down the aisle on my wedding day. He drove over 4 hours at a moment's notice to inspect the first big home purchase that Steve and I were considering. He helped us with several projects over the years on our various homes. He went on hikes and enjoyed being out on the water with us here in New York and in Florida when he visited many times. And my dad loved food. He loved his Doug's fish fry, his soft chocolate ice cream, and Panera soup, and his pretzels. Even on his last emergency trip to the hospital, he insisted on stopping for ice cream. We went out and we got him a cone. Our last meal together was pizza, though he could only eat a little bit more than a bite. It was a moment of normalcy that I will remember always. Above and beyond all these memories, what I'm most thankful for is that my father, along with my mother, raised me to know God's word. They gave us a strong biblical foundation for which I will be eternally grateful. One of the verses that my dad had written down on one of his many index cards, and he had a whole big stack, was Proverbs 3:5-6, which became a significant guide for my life. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. I wanted to share the really beautiful things about my father, but my father was not perfect. We're all imperfect people, aren't we? We're all molded by a combination of life experiences and choices. In addition to the beautiful memories, I had many disappointments and heartache over my father. He made some choices that hurt those closest to him. I only share this because my guess is that many of you here can relate, and maybe I can encourage you by sharing. I can attest that God makes beautiful things out of ashes. Despite the disappointments and heartache that can so easily come with any relationship because of our imperfect human nature, I'm thankful for the sweet memories I was able to have with my father throughout the years, especially at the end. I believe God's timing is perfect and that he is merciful. I was able to care for my dad the last week of his life, and I'm so thankful for that opportunity. I think it was healing for both of us. But even if I hadn't had that time, I know God would have been at work in me, providing great comfort and healing. When we put our complete trust in God, our Heavenly Father, creator of the earth and all that's in it, his goodness sustains us. He heals us. He comforts us. He gives us wisdom. He guides us. He corrects us. He enables us to forgive. He gives us the strength to endure. He equips us for every good work. He is our shelter in the midst of life's storms. He is the presence that refreshes. He gives us peace in our souls. When our spirits are crushed, he is the balm that soothes us. When our hearts are broken, he can put the pieces back together. He gives us the mercy and grace we don't deserve. He sets us free from the darkness and bonds of sin. People may fail us. God's love never fails. People will disappoint us. God never disappoints. People will leave us. God is always there. He promises these things to us if we put our trust in him and follow him. My hope is that while my father was broken on this earth
in eternity he will be whole physically and emotionally.
We are very thankful that we were able to be there to serve, care for, and love Audra's dad, especially when the nurses had other responsibilities.
And I believe it was a time of healing for both my dad and me. While I love my dad, and I don't question that he loved me, our relationship was very complicated and painful. And I believe God in His mercy orchestrated things at the end. So I was able to serve my dad, and with that, I had the opportunity to practice forgiveness and to choose to love despite any past hurts or disappointments. So ultimately, I'm really thankful for how everything unfolded, for the sweet times we were able to have with my dad there at the end, being by his side pretty constantly, and for the challenges with caregiving and how exhausting that was and challenging and painful, because I think it's the hard times that make us stronger and refine us. I'm very thankful for Steve, who was there by my side the whole time, especially at the very end, as that was just a surreal, crazy time. I couldn't ask for a better person to share all the good times with and the hard times with, so thank you. And for all the love that he extended to my family. I'm very thankful for our friends and family that were there for us as we went through it all. And we thank you guys also who have been following along, who have reached out with comments and messages, and who have been praying for us. It's a hard thing to go through, but we got through it after these 4 years, and we're just going to continue to try to process it, and we're looking forward to getting away a little bit into nature and just enjoying the beauty of the world around us. And I guess that's it for now.
Thank you, guys.
I'm so thankful for the memories I have of my dad, and that so many moments of his life have been captured on camera. My dad was adventurous, fun-loving, thrill-seeker, prone to be a little goofy at times. As I reflect on things and process his passing and look back at all the memories, it's a reminder. Make time for what's important. Spend your time in such a way that you won't have regrets. Love well. Forgive often. Cherish the time you have with loved ones. Time is a gift, and you never know how much time you'll have.
We'll check our reins up yonder in valleys green and wide. But you'll never make a cowboy unless you up and ride. Swing in to the saddle, Christian cowboy. Start riding and start riding hard for the Lord. Search the canyons of sin for the souls of men. Bring in the stray.